had so many jokes prepared for this.
And now you got
my brain
nothing?
is just like gone. It was like, I'm feeling sick, man. Something's taking over. I'm losing my sanity. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, you got like a worm in your head or something?
Got a worm in my... There's something in my head, dude.
Turn
I have
into
no
a deep
idea.
one?
Well, listen, my voice sounds a little deeper than usual because I get nice and close to my microphone. I'm using my Go XLR again.
Yeah, what's up, Braxton? Across the internet.
Across the pond.
Even though you're like just down the street.
The lake with the yellow flashes and whatnot. I don't know. That's a call out. That's a... Ooh. Where I'm sick.
Yeah.
Hello, you might be able to hear it in my voice. I haven't had a camera sat at my desk and recorded this podcast in a long time. It feels... He's dying. He's having a little...
I'm partaking
in that Smirnoff Ice. Don't give him shit. Those things taste good.
They do, man.
Everybody's always like, man, I haven't had one of those since I was at a party and it was the only thing I had left. It was under my friend's left shoe and they're like, hey, that's all I got, man. Here you go. And I was like, okay, well, I got to partake. That's every time you ask somebody about that drink or you say that you like them.
That's
like,
the story?
That's the story. It's
that's
like
funny.
You found it somewhere in somebody's left shoe. I don't know.
I
don't want to be sick anymore.
Yeah. How long have you been sick for?
So on... it was Sunday evening. I had a little crick in my neck. You might be thinking that doesn't sound like what you sound like right now. How does that work? There are vocal cords there, but I slept really weird and I knew it was going to happen because I was laying flat on my stomach. My head was way over to the side. And then I woke up on Monday and I could not move my neck whatsoever.
Damn.
At all. So I immediately called a chiropractor
and you
wanted
had
to go see them.
gotten your shot that day or was it after?
It was that day.
Oh my God, that's a bad combo.
It was a big chunky combo. So I went to the chiropractor and lo and behold, I love him to death, but from my point of view, I feel like it's just cracking your bones. I don't know.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't, it's all this newfangled medicine. I don't believe in it too. And they just basically ended up wanting to get me in for a bunch of like 3 visits a week for like $45 per visit. And it was like $800 over like 3 months. I'm like, my back and spine is fucked up from years of being a gamer, but
sure.
Like
so they didn't really help you, is what you're saying.
Didn't really help me. I mean, they cracked me a little bit, and then it made me get off my butt and go get a heating pad, which is on the floor over there, and some Motrin.
Yo, heating pads are sick.
Came in clutch. And then I started healing from that, and I think on Tuesday morning, isn't that a store? Monday mornings? Tuesday mornings?
I don't know. Oh, I think you're talking about. Yeah.
That's some sort of
something
like
mom
shop.
Yeah.
Or pop shop, wherever you do. And I woke up, I had a little bit of a head cold. And then Wednesday rolled around, and I feel like I do right now, which is real terrible. I haven't had this kind of sick in a little bit.
Is it like a fever? Or?
It's like sinus only and just...
Interesting.
Physical fatigue starting from like here and my spine and my arm. Like my lower half of my body, my legs feel normal, but everything like up. Truly like a head cold. I just feel underwater and...
It might be vaccine related. The symptoms
sound like
those are, I don't know. It can be really weird. Mine was just I was really fatigued, and I had a fairly high fever, and that was how I was out of it for like 2 days. When I got mine.
Oh, the water, dude. Let me tell you.
Yeah. So he's been sick. I've been. If you are watching us on YouTube, you can see behind me there's a mattress. For my futon. My girlfriend and I just recently got a new couch, and it is cozy. But I don't know what to do with this. I was actually impressed. The guys that came in to move it in, they carried it up completely already put together. It was just like covered in plastic.
They have a lot of faith in themselves.
Yeah, and just placed it down, took the plastic off, said, all right, there you go.
I don't know why.
It's like, geez, I paid $100 for that.
I mean, would you have rather?
Yeah, I imagine if I didn't pay that $100, then I probably would have assembled it myself. And so that was the trade-off. It just felt like it was a waste. They just came up, dropped it off, and left. Like, oh, I could have done that.
I feel that. Now for my bed and my other shit that came in, they set it up, and it was a good time. Definitely worth $100. So I didn't have that.
Unset it up and then had to move it because you got it in your old apartment, and we had to move it. Remember?
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah. It's been a rough time getting me moved down to these headquarters over here. I do have some cats now.
Yeah, now look at you. You're thriving, as they say.
Thriving. But speaking of like fever dreams and colds and weird things writhing in the night.
Yeah.
We had some interesting stuff on Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday we'll be playing part 2 of our 2-part Call of Cthulhu session.
Interesting.
This next week. But this is a tabletop RPG system that we've been talking about for a long time. That I'm a huge Lovecraft fan. I've been waiting to play this system. I've read modules in the older system. It's been around. I don't know if you knew this. It's been around since the 80s. 1981 was the first edition of Call of Cthulhu. Just crazy.
What about compared to like WotC and Pathfinder? Give me fact checks.
D&D was about 10 years earlier, like 19...
Okay.
Maybe I got it back. No, I think that's right. Yeah, 1974 was D&D. 1981 was Call of Cthulhu, I believe. And then obviously Paizo Pathfinder came up after 3rd edition, 3.5 edition.
And I have to wonder, especially during those times, and granted, you know, it was the environment that it was. So me thinking from the internet space, like, how did they find out about these other developers? How do they know? Do they speak through wire tubes and whatnot? So I'm just thinking how much influence they have upon each other.
I would imagine D&D probably has quite a big influence on the system. I mean, I think
really?
not on the system, but I think any tabletop RPG that came out after the 70s probably was inspired in some way by D&D, at least in the way of like the character sheets laid out, you know, the way there are different skills and things. I think it just paved the way for a lot of stuff. So much like Metallica paved the way for a lot of other like heavy metal stuff, even though they have like nothing to do with each other.
Start some fights there. Be careful.
I'm just saying.
Who's Grandpappy metal band? I don't know. Is it Metallica? Is it somebody else?
But well, yeah, I know who they were popular enough, you know, that they got people's attention. That's what I'm saying.
That's very true.
Because there were other systems before the other. What's up? I can see you're going with someone.
I can't get as close to the mic because I've got my hat there. You suck, it says. He's Ryan.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, he's Braxton. Thanks.
I'm sick, Braxton. This is the Dungeon Crawl. The other one hasn't happened in a little bit. It's called Dungeon Crawl of Cthulhu. Ooh. Maybe that's what we call it if we ever did it. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about our thoughts on Call of Cthulhu. We went through character creation.
Specifically 7th edition. And 7th edition's been out since, I want to say, like 2015, 2018, somewhere around there.
They revise it a lot, huh?
Yeah, well, to be fair, as you can imagine, it does take a little bit from its namesake, Lovecraft, as in the earlier editions were semi-offensive. Yeah, they had some...
You hate to see that.
The most... I was telling this Braxton earlier. The most famous long-form campaign, which there aren't many of them for Call of Cthulhu, Mass of Nyarlathotep, had some questionable content early on, and 7th edition has done a beautiful job on getting rid of all of that and making it much more inclusive and making it a lot less stereotypes and whatnot.
All right, 7th edition. Let's go. Okay. I tend to forget about a lot of that.
7th edition is like the 5th edition of Call of Cthulhu. It's easier to get into and play. Yeah.
Lovecraftian culture and theming and everything else attached to it has evolved so much more beyond that very, very terrible start that it had with Lovecraft himself and the time that he was in. So, I mean, I'm glad that we've had all these adjustments to it. I don't see anything in 7th edition. I mean, how recently was 7th edition brought in?
Like I said, I think 2015 at the latest 2018, somewhere around there.
So pretty recently then.
And I'd say, granted, I'm not, wasn't super into Call of Cthulhu back in the day, or I hadn't heard of it, of course. But I feel like it's probably the most popular it's ever been now, just like D&D and all these nerdy stuff. I feel like is the most popular it's ever been. Before we jump too far ahead, what is Call of Cthulhu? The question, what is Call of Cthulhu?
Hold on, can I out you for a second here on Discord?
What'd I do?
I talked about this earlier ago. So I'm sick, and I was like, bro, I need just like a little nap so I can be coherent when I get up. It was like a struggle to get out of bed, by the way. Yeah. So he's like, probably 6:37. Just done with class. My sounds bueno. Just let me know when you're ready. Yeah. Where was it actually? Was it earlier on?
It was after that. I'm pretty sure.
Was it? There it is. I said you good for another 30 minutes. Feel crappy, but definitely I want to get the episode in. Don't want to miss another week because we've been missing a couple. Due to audio boy that's sitting to my right now. And then he said, "Yeah, that'll work. We can also do a shorter one too, since it'll just be us waffling about COC." And the abbreviation is just really unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah.
It gave me that's the strength I needed to get out of bed.
Nice.
Anyways,
Call of Cthulhu, where its namesake, we kind of touched on it, but Lovecraftian, who, if you don't know who Lovecraft is, he was around in the 20s, something like that, 20s to
right
like 50s. I don't remember, somewhere around that time. But Lovecraftian, he created a whole genre more or less of cosmic horror, which is basically the easiest way to describe cosmic horror.
Good luck.
I know the whole point of cosmic horror is to not be able to describe it. It's the fear of things that are so beyond our imagining that it's by even attempting to comprehend this thing that we are afraid of, this entity, we lose our minds.
It's like trying to think about an actual infinity, like trying to mentally conceptualize how big infinity is, or, your fear of the deep ocean. Which is why a lot of these creatures tend to be aquatic or
space in nature,
spacey, or octopi, cephalopod. We don't know a lot about the ocean, so obviously Lovecraft was like, "What do I fear? Things I don't know a lot about. Big old tentacle-headed monster with vampire wings."
And that's in a nutshell. Of course, there's more to Lovecraftian mythos than that. But that's the basic idea of cosmic horror. And so Call of Cthulhu, first of all, was one of his short stories, Call of Cthulhu, which is where Cthulhu, the namesake, originated. But the tabletop RPG came out as a way to kind of play and experience these terrible and questionable and scary stories, and have you be able to play through the experience, because that sounds like a fun thing to do.
That's a bold statement to say, though, because from my experience, the good old Call of Cthulhu games and any other game that kind of based off of it, The Shore, I believe, is a more recent one. It's a tough experience to get across and translate.
Yes.
As you said, even trying to explain it is counterintuitive to cosmic horror in general. You're not supposed to be able to, make a model, put polygons on it and a texture and call it, hey, there you go, there's our Cthulhu video game. And it's like Doom.
Yeah, once you see the monsters, it's very much kind of like a Cloverfield kind of thing. Once you see the monster, the fear is very much gone.
Which is ironic because it's supposed to be the exact opposite in Lovecraft. If you actually somehow manage to witness one of these things, your sanity, everything you are, your identity, gone.
Yeah, you turn into
that's the end.
Mush.
That's why these cults are crazy and fanatic. So when I first think of trying to make a tabletop game around this, my belief is suspended for a little bit, because writing is a very good medium for Call of Cthulhu.
It's better than movies or video games, which there have been quite a lot made.
So I get pulled on board for a little bit from there, and then I'm thinking, okay, well, now I got to RP in this situation and act mentally terrified. How do I do this? Yeah. What's going on? Is the game the thing that's tying me to this sanity, or do I have to actually invoke my brain to go into some stupor of, I don't know, cosmic dread?
I am glad, though, that you brought up the video games, because there have been a few.
There's a
lot. Especially recently. There's the very old one called Dark Corners, Call of Cthulhu. That is fairly good for its time, for sure. Then we got, there's a damn fly in my face.
No, you're just dancing, man.
Then there was Bloodborne, of course.
Okay.
Darkest Dungeon is Lovecraftian inspired. Then we also got some of the more recent ones, like Call of Cthulhu, just straight up, which actually specifically takes inspiration from the board game. But it is not very good. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Holy shit.
I had fun playing through it, but not as a Lovecraft fan, just as like I'm going to make fun of this game kind of guy.
Well, the dialogue is so bad.
The dialogue's not great. The writing is not good. The areas are pretty cool, I guess.
Something you can always look forward to in a Call of Cthulhu game is at least it might be some sort of visually interesting. Hopefully.
Then there was the Sinking City, which was, if you didn't think Call of Cthulhu was good, then Sinking City was about 2 times as worse. So you had that going for you. And then there was one actually that just recently came out. I haven't played it yet, but if you want to try it out, it's completely free on Steam. It's called Dagon, and it is a free like
from Skyrim?
No,
Aaron's Dagon?
It's a free game that takes you through the story of Dagon. It's supposed to be very good. All those exist, and then we got this tabletop RPG experience.
I want to touch on Bloodborne just a little bit, because I find it funny that it is one of the best representations of
Yeah.
Call of Cthulhu, and very light spoilers just for the transition and plot of Bloodborne. But it very much starts out like a lot of Lovecraftian stories. It's a location. Things are odd. People are changing. There's a lot of things that are set in stone, crazy people and whatnot. Gothic. And then it transitions into something else entirely slowly, like cooking a frog or boiling a frog alive. It doesn't know. And then you're like, wait a minute, why is there like a tentacle over there?
And it surprisingly does the best experience I've ever seen in a medium of a quote unquote sanity /
insight
meter. I have no idea why other games haven't done something similar. The more you learn, the more you can see. And it's such a beautiful concept.
It goes well because Soulsborne games in general don't tell you a ton of things, and this number in the corner just starts going up, and you start seeing more things. And you think it's just a natural progression of the game, but you come back again and you have a lower or higher number.
Beautiful.
You see something, you're like, what the hell? It's
absolutely
awesome.
beautiful.
It's really unique. Anyways, thank you for letting me go on that tangent.
Well, now let's transition from that. Instead of talking about Call of Cthulhu quite yet, I know that's what this whole podcast is about, but let's talk about what I'm sure most of you are here originally to see is Dungeons & Dragons / Pathfinder stuff. So my question that I'm going to answer, and Braxton will answer as well, is how come you can't just play like a Lovecraftian inspired campaign or one shot in D&D? Let me tell you. Oh, you want to tell?
I mean, I was my mouth noise to buy time to think for a moment. Okay. So I mean, it's
you hypothesize, and then I'll tell you.
I think you could do it. It just doesn't support the experience. Like in Cthulhu, Call of Cthulhu. You're not, or in Lovecraft games, it's not about fighting these things. It's not about tackling with them one-on-one. You're not going to enter into the lair of Cthulhu and go fight him in a true Lovecraftian setting.
There are stat blocks for this guy out there.
Yeah, so actually, I have a stat block for Cthulhu. Enter. So I feel like I pulled a little bit of Day 9 in there, but
should you have a stat block for Cthulhu? I say no. You should.
Probably no, you shouldn't fight him. He just looks at you, go insane. But you do have things like beholders, which are kind of similar to that.
Yeah, they're from the far realm, which is where Cthulhu would probably be hanging out
this weekend.
Yeah, that was a rough time.
Oh boy, but that's my thing in a nutshell. Like, you don't really fight. You're
completely hitting the nail on the fort. All right, hammering. You know what I'm saying? You're hitting the nail. Yeah. That D&D is very much the power fantasy where the characters and players in it are the most powerful entities, and they're constantly growing and getting crazy anime abilities, and they're doing insane shit, while Call of Cthulhu, on the other hand, is not about that. You're just an average, everyday guy that's just having to get tossed into this, and you're not supposed to fight. If you fight, you're probably not pretty good at it. And so the problem with D&D and horror, as we've talked about in our horror episode, is it's a very delicate balance to get right.
Yeah.
Because you can't really scare them with creatures and stuff, because if a player sees a creature, they're either A, going to say, try to kill it, or go, oh, that thing's probably too powerful, let's just not fight it. So there's you're not really going to get scared by it.
That's why a lot of horror games don't give you weapons. You just run around and shit. They make you feel helpless.
Yeah, amnesia.
There's a little bit of emulation of that.
Yeah. So from that into Call of Cthulhu, what to me, Call of Cthulhu does well versus D&D for these horror, scary experiences is, first of all, we talked about the combat is not incentivizing it. It's a very sketchy to get involved with it. For example, my character in our game right now has 0 combat abilities. If he gets put into a combat situation with either a gun, a weapon, anything, I would be surprised. I would be flabbergasted, gobsmacked if I'm able to hit anything with any object. I'm gonna be very slowly, because I'm an oldie man running for my life, and I will probably die. And that's fun.
When you're making an investigator in Call of Cthulhu, that's the name for these guys, at least in the 1920s era.
Yeah.
There's a lot more stats than in D&D. There's a lot more things to put points into, and it's an entirely different character creation. There are weapons. You might see them and be like, okay, I'm going to put all my stuff into handguns. I'm going to go everything into shotgun or whatever, brawl weapons I've got. You could do that again, but it's not to say you're going to be like a headshot 360 no-scope king in Call of Duty Warzone or whatever the hell you're playing.
You're not going to be casting lightning bolts.
Yeah. It's very much, think to any of those movies or games, like, you're a stormtrooper, or it's one of those games where a guy's holding a gun and they really emphasize how much weight and how difficult it is to shoot something like that. You're a normal person, like he's mentioned before. But what you do have outside of the main stats are things like accounting and first aid, which is kind of fun, or psychology. These fun stats. You can't dodge.
Yeah. There's lots of really cool. There's even like automobile stats to make sure you can drive a car
electricity repair or electric repair. There's a bunch of weird real world things here. But the main stats are strength. Typical. It's your like physical ability to push and move things and do stuff like that. Constitution, which is, I think this is different in Call of Cthulhu.
I believe slightly. Not much different though. I don't believe.
It's still your mental like health and fortitude in that matter. Dexterity, very, very similar. Intelligence is more so your ability to come up with ideas and whatnot. It's also going to be something that allows you, similarly to other video games, get more stat points later on as well.
Yes.
Which I've always kind of been a fan. Like Fallout, I believe, does. The more intelligence you have, the quicker you gain XP. There's some remnants of that in modern video games. Size is literally one of your main stats. It's how big, tall, small you are. That is something you will happily roll for, which is very interesting.
Con is the same. Okay.
Exactly the same? Okay.
Yeah, more or less. This is how hardy you are.
The power is kind of where things get a little bit different. Now, this can be related to magic, kind of your aptitude for things of the weird of that nature, and then your appearance also, how you look. That often could be a dump stat for your character. If you don't care about how you look, you're going to be an old, ugly professor dude. Yeah. You might be a good old Ryan over here. And then education. This is also your schooling, how much you know. This immediately affects character creation in addition to how old your character is, how much you've gone to school, how much experience versus knowledge and time you've got. It's really interesting.
Education's closer what D&D would be of like intelligence, while intelligence in this is more like wisdom.
Yes, it's very backwards. And then you got hit points, magic points, luck, sanity.
Which I do want to say, the hit points part of it is there are improvements to your skills you can do if you're doing like a long form campaign. It's not like you don't like roll a die and get more health as time goes on, as far as I'm aware. But something for new players that are possibly wanting to get into this to kind of put it into perspective. The average hit points of a Call of Cthulhu investigator for the whole game is about the same as a level 1 D&D character. And the creatures in Call of Cthulhu and the problems that you could run into do about a little bit more damage than, say, a level 1 encounter in D&D. So let that just kind of start painting the picture of how brutal this world could be for you.
Many a Call of Cthulhu first campaigns and sessions, and a primarily D&D group might end in death.
I don't think it's supposed to. I don't think it's incentivizing it, but I don't think it's necessarily that might sound like a bad thing to say, but I don't think it's necessarily the same impact as like losing your character in D&D, because you've put your blood, sweat, and tears into this character. You've been playing it for 2 years or maybe even longer, and then your character dies at like level 15, and you're like, oh my god, and you can't resurrect it for whatever, maybe you got disintegrated, who knows. While in Call of Cthulhu, you're almost like, and I'd say with D&D as well, you're making a story together with the DM. This is, instead of making a epic fantasy story, you're making a tragic horror tale where if your character dies at the end of the story, that just adds to the intensity and epic story that you just told with this terrifying experience.
I mean, after you've come up with your name, occupation, birthplace, etc., and you've gone through all the main stats, and you end with sanity, you're like, that's odd. I wonder how that works. The literal next bar on the character sheet is maximum sanity, temporary sanity, indefinite sanity, major wound unconscious, and dying.
Yeah.
Those are stat effects that you can inhibit yourself with. And if you just go entirely indefinitely insane, that's also basically death. So there's a lot of things that are fighting against you in this universe, and the only thing to which you have to try to get away from these things are your skills, of which there are a booty load ton of these guys, and it makes for a really interesting character creation process. I'll be honest.
I had fun
At first, I felt like, okay, there's so many stats in here and percentages. I have no idea what the hell's going on. How do these even work? To which cost our DM was like, oh, you roll a D100, and the lower the number is, the better you do. The higher the number is, the worse you do. Your stat there, say you have a 20 in accounting. In order to succeed on a roll at all, to a certain degree of success, you need to roll at or lower than that 20%. Then you have extra stuff like your half, I don't know what the exact thing, the term for it is, but if you roll below half of that or even below a fourth of that, that's how you get better successes. And crits, yes, are a 1
and there can be certain checks that are harder than others, and then you have to hit that half or have to hit that quarter,
which I love. D&D has that in the form of just giving a higher DC, but the fact that it gives an exact number more so, I found to be a lot of fun. We did do a decent bit of rolling. Like I had a few medicine checks to heal people, but I felt a little weird as I hardcore went into what my character was. This doctor dude who's kind of worked on people in the mafia. So I'm really good at impromptu wounds, etc. So I had like a 90 in first aid. So there's a 10% chance for me to fail, which, definitely can happen. You can't have higher than a 90. Some campaigns don't let even more than 75%. That is an option. But I didn't feel like I was going to fail. And then I had a conversation with Ryan. I realized, there's like 30 other skills that I have nothing in. So if somebody asks me to, climb something, I've got the bare minimum 20% to be able to do that.
Yeah, I put mine. So I'm a psychology professor, crotchety asshole that's studied underneath Freud. And so he's been around the block. And I have almost all my skills are in to psychology, psychoanalysis, which from what I've heard so far have been used interchangeably. So I might have wasted some of my skill points. And into listening and speaking, like persuasion type stuff, and a little bit into my credit score because I'm making some bank. And that's honestly it. I have a few other small things here and there. I put a little bit into the not Cthulhu myths, though. I can't remember. There's another one that's like
a cult.
I put a little bit into a cult, just like strange things, because of strange things that my clients have said and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if I'm pretty sure I made one roll the entire session, and it was just kind of like an insight roll on some guy, and that we played for like 4 hours, and I was my character was very much leaning on everybody else to do stuff. So if any of you guys die or I'm separated at any point in this session, I will be lost beyond belief.
Should have lectured Cthulhu to death.
Yeah, that's my job.
We were in the whole shebang is that we're looking for somebody who's been kidnapped. Yes. There was supposed to be a ransom for them, but they kind of threatened.
One of the ones in the Keeper's Handbook. One of the starter adventures.
Yeah, so we ended up talking with basically the client, whoever's sending us on these missions, and it seemed a bit odd as to maybe why some of us are going on it, but it's a role-playing game. If we can't find the reason, we got to put it in there. So we're in a forest, spooky stuff's happening, hunting people down, and honestly, it's the most fun that I've had role-playing. Some of the most fun I've had role-playing in a while, just because it wasn't a medieval fantasy world. I've never lived in a world like that myself. So it was a good bit of enjoyment to be had, just speaking a little bit more in relevant now terms.
It's easier to pull things from off the easier to improv. I should say.
Okay, random joke about wanting to be with your mother. And
to be fair, me having a psychology background, that's why I picked this guy. I was like, I can have things to talk about. And so for me, it was a lot easier to be able to riff off of stuff. I'm sure I could. In my world that I've homebrewed, of course, it's easy for me to RP in there. But for example, Braxton, who has lived in that world, but doesn't know it, back and front like I do, it can be a little tougher to get in the mindset of like a medieval European, medieval France type setting. And so, I was riffing off of, St. Freud stuff, or I thought it was actually fascinating that, Cthulhu and Lovecraft put such a heavy emphasis on dreams and like the dreamlands and things that happen in your dreams. And it just so happened to work out that Freud did a lot of work with dream therapy and analyzing your dreams. And so we started having a conversation about analyzing each other's dreams, and it turned into us like, I don't think we would have had that conversation otherwise about all the different crazy dreams we had that night that our lovely keeper handed out to us.
Yes.
It was very cool, very interesting how the RP just kind of happened, for sure.
Yeah, it was really, really organic. Like And I think it's an attribute to the module itself, or whatever it's considered in Call of Cthulhu.
The players, of course.
Yeah, because one of the dreams, mine in particular, I received says I wake up screaming. There's a little bit of an instigator there too, but obviously if it's one of the other people that's in our group, if it's the dude who runs like a moonshine shtick in his spare time, apparently in the literal forest that we're in right now, which was really interesting. I just felt it flowed very, very well, and I didn't... Where I tend to want a lot of combat, which was my worry about Call of Cthulhu, I ended up really enjoying the extra immersion I had into the world from what we just discussed, as well as just, Cthulhu stuff is fun, to which we hadn't encountered much yet outside of the dreams.
Yeah, we've only kind of lightly touched on. I'm excited to see where things go.
Yeah. Okay. So now that we've kind of talked it up a bit, I'm curious to think, was there anything that you didn't enjoy either through the character creation process or the bit of what we did experience?
Honestly, no. I was super into it. I think, obviously, as we mentioned in our horror episode as well, which I believe we released like almost a year ago today. So go listen to that. Great episode. I think a lot of it does lend itself to making sure the keeper is doing a good job with the atmosphere. You got to have really good atmosphere, and that lends itself to having good music and sound effects and stuff like that. So I think if we weren't playing music or didn't have that extra addition to the game, it might have not been as creepy or impactful for some things. But I'm so into it that in my research and trying to talk about this, that I checked out some of the other scenarios, and I'm like, man, I want to start running some of these things. So if you guys are out there in our Discord, maybe I'll start running some of my own. I do think it could be fun, and we might do this on our Dungeon Chronicles. We are taking a little bit of a break because we're kind of organizing everything. So we do like a little side offshoot of some of these scenarios. I think the only thing I don't like about this, if I had to pick something, is if someone's putting a gun in my head and I gotta pick something I don't like, is I love long form campaigns. I love getting into characters and having big stories play out, and that this system doesn't really lend itself well to that. Because of the lethality of the world and the system. I mean, if you're gonna literally be playing with terrifying monsters from the abyss, they're probably gonna bite back, and you're probably gonna die or lose your mind at some point. So you can't really do a long form campaign of that. But also with the way Lovecraftian stories are, I mean, look at just Lovecraft's work. The majority of those are underneath 40 or 50 pages. I mean, they're fairly short in the grand scheme of things. There are a couple that are 100 plus, but Lovecraftian tales lend itself well to smaller form and kind of keeping things hidden underneath the surface and alluding to bigger things without showing it. So I think that's the only thing I don't like, is that I would love to play like a long form campaign this, but it's not possible. So like all this stuff I'm super interested in running, and maybe things will release on YouTube or stuff in the future, are all small, short, 3-4 sessions max. The books only have like 5 scenarios in them, and each one is like 3 or 4 sessions long. Like I said, Mass of Near-Lethal is the only one I'm aware of that is like a long form campaign, which in theory you could still obviously break up into smaller pieces.
Yeah. So what I'll say about that, though, is you can definitely do the long form of world building / campaign world building.
Sure,
where it's all in the same universe.
Which it is. Because technically they're all in our world.
We literally played in a state in the good old United States of A.
Yeah.
Which is very funny.
I think the difference is there's 1920s modern, which is like today, and then there's like not prehistoric, but like Greek times or something like that. Roman times. I can't remember one of the two.
Wow. I'm scrolling down on the character sheet too. There's in backstory, just to give you an example, is literally ideology, beliefs. Okay, normal. Significant people. Good. Meaningful locations. Awesome. Treasured possessions. Cool. Injuries and scars. Phobias and manias. Arcane tomes and spells. Encounters with strange entities. And like you mentioned before, one of the funniest things that I had in this was credit. I'm sorry. I play games to get away from my debt. What do we bring this? And that's just literally your wealth. So in terms of things that I disliked, is I don't think I can say it just quite yet, but when we get into those encounters for fear, I am interested to see how the loss of my character or the threat of the situation just naturally affects me as a player.
Yeah.
And how much just the description of the events gets me into the moment. Now, that varies from person to person.
Right.
A lot. It depends on how much empathy you have for these sorts of situations. It is really tough. But if you've got music like we did, and even Ryan just put on his typical playlist that he does and kind of let it go. It was a little bit of jazzy stuff, and it really helped get in the mood. And this was all over Discord too. It wasn't in person, so you can still do it. And over Discord, I'm sure like 90% of the games are going on right now. I'm probably on Discord.
Yeah.
Just because of the boom that's going on. So I don't have a big dislike yet. My iffy right now is how many stats there are and how constricted your choices are. You're always going to be, and this is very much how people are, you're always going to be pretty good at about 4 or 5 things in life, maybe exceptional at 2 of them. And then some of the other stuff, like you literally don't touch at all. Like jumping. I can't jump. I don't even know if I can jump anymore in real life. I got a sneeze coming up. Ryan, take it away.
Yeah, I'll take it away. But this sanity is definitely something I'm intrigued about, because I think one of the biggest things I do not like about D&D is the madnesses, the various long-term and short-term madnesses that can be inflicted upon your players.
Like, you are this.
Yeah, it's. I think they're very weak, and it's. I don't know. It's maybe can add to role playing, but to me, it almost takes it away by telling the player that you are now afraid of this thing or this is happening. So I'm curious to see how this sanity system works in Call of Cthulhu a little bit more, because I've already lost a good chunk of my sanity, so I'm not too far.
It has come up a good bit already. Yeah. These dreams, it's probably exactly where Bloodborne got its inspiration for insight.
Right. Yeah, and I've seen people die.
Something shocking, you encounter a boss for the first time. It just, that little number goes boop, and you don't even really notice it, but it stacks up over time. And it will make you lose your brain. I do want
to say something that I find interesting that I kind of actually, I might test this out and come back to you, Braxton, for a future episode, which would actually kind of work pretty well, because Call of Cthulhu has a whole area set up for running one-on-one games. Actually, not even one-on-one, one on yourself, solitaire Cthulhu. It's called Alone Against Blank. They have one called Alone Against the Tide, Alone Against the Frost, Alone Against the Flames, Alone Against the Dark. And so it's basically you have this book and it takes you through. It's like, I guess it's like you're reading a Lovecraftian tale, but it's like a choose your own adventure kind of thing. It seems very interesting. And there are many of these scenarios are also, which is what I was actually going to say. A lot of these scenarios are also built for one player, could in theory go through them as well. So you could run one-on-one Call of Cthulhu, which, like I said, I might give it a shot with my girlfriend who's been wanting to play tabletop RPGs for a while. So I try that, and we can then talk about running tabletop RPGs like D&D and Call of Cthulhu solo.
Kind of interesting. Schedule another session with your warlock and have them run through a little bit of a Call of Cthulhu style D&D fever dream.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I don't think one-on-one tabletop RPGs lend themselves well to everybody, because you have to be pretty gung-ho to. Yeah. You can't lean on anybody else besides, obviously, the GM, DM / keeper. But it's definitely an intriguing concept that I'm not opposed to, because you would always have a bunch of people to play with. Sometimes you just have your partner or your best friend to hang out with.
Yourself. And what I will say is the ability to suspend your disbelief and get invested into a story oftentimes is a lot easier when you're the only one, when your brain is the only brain at the table. Right. It's a bit easier to invest into the insanity versus when there's a lot of other people, it's harder.
I could see myself having difficulty writing like a homebrew scenario for Call of Cthulhu, just because it's
a tough medium.
Yeah, it's such an important dialogue and like writing style that you have to have down. And I don't know if I've never written a Lovecraftian tale, so I don't know if I could really hit that home. Luckily, they have a lot of amazing scenarios all on their website, chaosium.com.
Damn, okay. I do need to shout out.
That's the developer, by the way, Chaosium. How sick is that?
I don't know if it's my computer. There is an online utility for creating a character. And this, the Dole House, I believe it is, on the interwebs.
Yeah.
I had a very difficult time running through that. To be fair, it's probably a passion project of somebody, and I am one user. Quality assurance and testing, right. That's an expensive thing to go through, but it was a very tough time for me to get any of my stats to remain or to go back and retroactively edit them. It was useful though, and I like where it's going, but it made a good bit of headache trying to get all of my credit score in there and all of my stats in the right spot.
Mm-hmm.
How much sanity do I have to protect myself until I eventually just lose my mind? I don't know. But we figured it out eventually, and now that I'm looking at the PDF that I have right now, it's empty again. So before we play, Mr. Ryan, please
how does that happen?
I don't know. I guess I just forgot to hit save whenever we ended our session.
No.
Oh boy, Adobe Acrobat. I pay a lot of money for you.
Third time making this character.
Where's the auto save? I have at this point. I have it memorized. I could just run it with
right.
This isn't even one of those games that you need to memorize your stats.
You know what? I would say I don't think it really matters that. I don't think anyone's ever going to like, not necessarily min-maxing, but like trying to cheat out their character in a game like this. You know, it's not like, again, because you're not playing it long term or anything. I do want to say the artwork in these books are absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Astounding some of the stuff they can do. I do want to recommend, if anybody out there, for whatever reason, is not immediately sold by the words and things we've said here today, to check out Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. To at the very least, if you like Lovecraftian stuff and want to pull them into your game at home, your Pathfinder or D&D game, check out Sandy Peterson's Field Guide to Lovecraftian... wait, let me pull it up. What's the full name? It wasn't loading. To Lovecraftian Horrors. Sandy Peterson's Field Guide to Lovecraftian Horrors. It's technically built for 7th edition, Call of Cthulhu, of course. But there's so much more into it. There's no stat blocks for these creatures. It's just saying, what is an elder thing? What is a dimensional shambler? And it explains how to play these characters. Shambler. I know, it's beautiful. And I hate to shout out a D&D product, but there is well, because this is a Call of Cthulhu thing.
Yeah, I get you.
But there is Sandy Peterson also made a Call of Cthulhu Lovecraftian 5e supplemental book, I guess. There's a whole lot of Lovecraftian stuff that I've stolen from and then used for in our home game, and just ideas. It's very well written. I can't pull it off the top of my head, but just type in Sandy Peterson Cthulhu 5e and I'm sure it'll pop up.
Nice. Well, hey, at least it was the same person. And most people that listen to this are either playing Pathfinder or 5th edition, so you'll probably find some use in that.
I think he has a Pathfinder version as well, but I'm not positive.
Shit, there you go, Pathfinder peeps.
Okay, that's I was making sure. I want to make sure I get this right. He was one of the original creators of Call of Cthulhu. It looks like Sandy Peterson.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wait, damn, they're still around?
My time. The 80s, man. He's 66 years old right now today.
That's not that old. Oh, it's getting there.
He also worked on the development of the Doom franchise and Quake.
Dan, this dude's grandpappy of all the things that we love in this world. Doom definitely has some.
He created 19 levels for Doom. Nice.
Damn, like the
original.
He
created 17 levels for Doom too. Yeah, the original.
I think that's a lot of levels, actually.
And his Lovecraftian experiences or influences all over those games.
Damn. Holy shit.
Well, you know.
All right. Well, we do have another session we're going to be having of Call of Cthulhu, not this week. That this episode comes out, but the week after. We are alternating how we're running it, so maybe we'll have another digest once we kind of get through. And we have experienced these life-threatening scenarios.
Wait, you say we are playing this week, right?
Are we? No, I thought we were swapping to Zelda.
No,
week.
Zelda, you guys are playing on Halloween. Or next to, close to Halloween.
Shit. So maybe we'll make a little post or a short-form video on it at some point. I don't know. I
will say, I definitely talk to Braxton about this, because we haven't yet. I'm not entirely sure what our episode it will be on next week, because it comes out at a weird time, because Fizzbands comes out next week, but our episodes come out, the same week, and we're definitely going to be ready in like 2 days to make an episode on Fizzband. So we'll have to theorize.
Well, for you, actually, you've got a lot of class that happens between those 2 days.
Unless we can fill it in 2 days.
Let's get it. Theorize. Let's still come up with another idea for next week.
Maybe we can chunk it in.
We can challenge ourselves.
I don't know how big it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm very excited for Fizzband. Comes out on the 26th next week, and now we can, since we're releasing not on Tuesdays, we could capitalize on everyone wanting to check out Fizzband.
Yeah, anybody who hasn't realized yet, this episode has been released on a Friday of the week that it did come out at 7 a.m. We no longer release on Tuesdays. I just pet my cat. Just gotta make sure there's no I felt something. That was not fun.
That was not a good look.
No, it wasn't. But yeah, we release now on Fridays. And then whenever life catches up with us and our setup catches up with us, and there's no longer a massive echo in the room that I'm currently recording in, that is when the Dungeon Chronicles will crawl back out of the abyss.
Yeah.
Yeah. As always, for everybody, as I'm now remembering, and my muscle and physical memory is bringing me to my desk instead of the desk and table that's over there. Social media, at Dungeon Crawl Pod for both Twitter and Instagram. My cats are on the table right now. If you did not know, we do record a video version of this. If you want to see my cats, search the Dungeon Crawl Podcast on YouTube. You can find us there, or in the link tree, which also houses our Discord. We've got a lot of lovely people where we play some games like this Call of Cthulhu session that we ran. If you wish you were a part of that with us and some of our friends, jump on there. Get to know us. I will not get you sick because it is virtual. Do not worry. It is not virtually contagious. Also, email thedungeoncrawlpod@gmail.com for business inquiries and anything else that you want to send us, like fan mail or I don't know. It's HTML, man. You type what you want, you bold, you underline, you capitalize. Off to you, Ryan.
I do want to say, I thought about it. Fizzband actually does have some Lovecraftian stuff in there. So if you're interested in Lovecraft,
Elder Brain Dragon.
Yeah, and the Great Worms are a little Lovecraftian in a way. So it should be interesting. I'm very excited for it. But yeah, finally, if you want to lose your minds, tremble in the face of our Apple overlords, then you too can, or should rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and leave us a review and say wonderful things about. Is she cleaning it?
No, I'm just holding him really weird. Oh, now he's cleaning his leg.
Clean himself. Wait, hold on. Rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. It really helps us out, and leave a lovely review, and maybe even Nyarlathotep himself or itself will grace you with a. And
by that he means the
presence.
Ever popular anime Hayori Naruko-chan.
Oh.
You can go watch that. It's personification of everything all Lovecraft, and it is is not faithful to anything at all. That's anime girls. I watched that many years ago.
Yeah, in some ways I feel like that's the greatest like middle finger to Lovecraft's like terrible views.
You think he'd like it?
I don't think he would, but I think it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. He left us a legacy, but
I do want to say
we didn't learn
something I haven't mentioned is we've talked about Lovecraft this, Lovecraft that. He did make the genre Lovecraftian horror. And there have been a lot of amazing authors that have written books that are Lovecraftian. Because it was so long ago, it's now in public domain, so anybody can write Lovecraftian stuff and take Cthulhu. That's why you see Cthulhu in literally everything. So you can write to your heart's content your own Cthulhu mythos story. So
I think it's definitely expanded outside of just him.
There's a lot of lovely authors out there that have done their best to keep the horror aspect and continue the mythos, but are much more lovely and nice people.
Lovely and crafty.
So we'll see you next week. Thanks for crawling with us.
he's been Ryan.
He's been Braxton. We'll see you next week. I'm very sick. Yeah, he's sick.
Wish me.
Hopefully next week he'll be feeling better for Fizzy Ban
and everything else that's going on. It's been a busy lifetime, but we'll see you on the flip side.
That's and then next month is Strixhaven. Then we get some time off until
that come out
Multiverse of Monsters or whatever the hell.
Yay!
Which is kind of weird because it comes out near the Doctor Strange movie, which is also the multiverse of something. Coincidence?
Conspiracy. I don't know.
You decide. Comment below what you think. Are Doctor Strange and D&D working together? Who knows?
I don't know. I'm tired. I'm going to go get some NyQuil and just do something. Or maybe, I don't know, somebody wants to play Valorant with me, but I don't know if I'd play good at all.
Yeah, you probably just get killed over and over again.
Deuces.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Get out of here.
No, you suck.